Hi, John Dixon here from the Centre for Public Christianity. I'm talking about humility, and I'm trying to convince you of the thesis that the greatest people in history have been people marked by humility. You can be great without humility, but with humility, the great are even greater. And I've given one reason that had to do with pure logic. Humility is just common sense, because none of us is an expert at everything. My second reason has less to do with logic and more to do with aesthetics. My reason is this: humility is beautiful, whereas pride is ugly. See, the reality of our daily experience is that we are more attracted to the great who are humble than to the great who are proud. There are plenty of examples of this, but my favourite example is Sir Edmund Hillary. This is the man who, along with Tenzin Norgay, conquered Mount Everest in 1953. One of the greatest symbolic human achievements of all time. The Sydney Morning Herald did a story on Sir Edmund Hillary a few years ago, and they were outlining the work he's done in Nepal since 1953. He's been trying to give back to the Nepalese something of what they gave him. Anyway, one day a group of trekkers spotted Sir Edmund Hillary up there in Nepal, and of course asked if they could have some photos with him. So, he dutifully grabbed his gear and stood in the photos. And then apparently a tourist walked by and spotted these people setting up for a photo, didn't recognise Sir Edmund Hillary, and walked up to Sir Edmund Hillary and said, buddy, that's not how you hold an ice pick. Here, let me show you. And adjusted Sir Edmund's grip. And Sir Edmund, while everyone just watched in stunned silence, thanked the man and just went on with the photo, having adjusted his grip as the man advised him. Now, I don't care how great that tourist was as a climber, but his greatness is diminished by this pride, this presumption. And Sir Edmund's greatness is enhanced by this humility. There's something noble, beautiful about a man of that greatness who doesn't feel the need to say, hey, do you know who I am? And apparently those closest to Sir Edmund Hillary say that this humility marked his entire life.
You're listening to the vodcast for the Centre for Public Christianity. For more great content, why not subscribe at publicchristianity.org.
But here's the interesting thing. Humility hasn't always been regarded as beautiful. Let me give you just a short ancient history lecture. Historians will tell you that in the Greek and Roman world BC, humility basically meant servitude, humiliation. Being humble before the gods and the emperors was advisable, because they could kill you, but being humble toward equals was considered shameful. Now, I was actually involved in a project at Macquarie University in the Ancient History Department exploring the origins of humility as a virtue. And before you say what you're thinking, my friends actually pointed out how ironic that was, that I was exploring the origins of humility. In fact, my best friend of 30 odd years said at the time, well, at least you have the objective distance from the topic. Thanks, mate. Anyway, what we discovered was very interesting. Everything changed in the 1st century with the death of Jesus Christ. Now, regardless of whether you have religious convictions or not, the reality was in the 1st century, after Jesus' death, people began to reason that if the greatest man they knew willingly gave up his life for others, true greatness must involve humility. And suddenly, the word humilitas came to mean not humiliation, but the virtue we now know as humility. As a result, we now take for granted, particularly in the Western world, that humility is beautiful. This is true in so many industries. It's true in my scholarly industry. Recently, I got to meet 12 of the world's leading historians in a documentary I was involved with exploring the life of Christ, shown here in Australia on Channel 7 recently. Some of the scholars were brilliant and knew it, but other scholars were impressively humble. One in particular stood out for me. Richard Baulkham who's professor at St Andrews University in Scotland. This guy is a pure polymath, absolutely brilliant in so many historical and philosophical areas. When our crew turned up to his offices at St Andrews, beautiful St Andrews University, you know what he did? He took our tea and coffee orders, individually, took for the whole crew, and then went away, and I just assumed he was going to get one of the maids at the university to come and bring back the teas and coffees, but he returned about 10 minutes later with the tray of tea and coffee that he himself had made for us and handed out to everyone in the crew. And then he sat down for this amazingly erudite interview. It was just a beautiful moment. Now, whose writings do you think I now read with more interest, respect and trust? Baulkham's. And the same must be true in your industry, whatever that is. If you are humble in your dealings with people, you're going to attract and impress others in a way that a proud approach can never do, because humility is beautiful. Humility is common sense, yes, but humility is aesthetically beautiful. In the next instalment, I want to give you some more reasons.